What's up guys, Skilly here, and today we're doing something a little different. So I actually just finished beating Sons of the Forest on stream a couple days ago, and I feel like I've become pretty proficient at surviving on the island and making a way for myself. So I wanted to share some tips with you guys about surviving, about combat, and just about how to make life easier on this cannibal mutant infested hellhole. So this video is 12 tips to make your life easier in Sons of the Forest. Tip number one, if you hop into your inventory, you might have noticed that you have a backpack up here. Now, if you're like me, the game doesn't have a tutorial. It doesn't hold your hand, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. It's all about surviving, figuring it out on your own, right? I did not even think that, oh, you could click on it and you can add and remove items to it. Let me show you. You can just go here. You can remove what's already there. You probably have some stuff already attached to it, even if you've never done it. And then you could go through and attach what items you want. So it seems like over here on the left side, you can attach 2 weapons, right? So you can put some food stuff or some like flares right here. So I like to do that. You know, I usually add my MREs, maybe energy drink, energy bars, stuff like that. Anything you want to put there, right? Go wild, go to your heart's content, add a bunch of items here. But basically what that does is once you've got your backpack configured the way you want it, if you come out and hit tab, what that does is allow you to quick select items off your backpack without going into your inventory. This is very useful if you're in a cave or in the middle of combat and you want to pull something out very quickly, but you don't want to go all the way into your inventory to get it. Tip number 2 is hotkeys. If you played the game when it first launched, you will have very quickly noticed, especially if you're on PC, that there was not a hotkey option. Good news, Night Games added hotkeys for mouse and keyboard and a small patch fix update. If you hover over any item in your inventory, you can hotkey it. You'll see here I'm hovering over the shovel. You'll see that above the equip language there's a little blank box. You hover over the item and you hold whatever button you want to hotkey it to, like number 1. You can see I held 1 and now there's 1 there. And then if I back out and I press number 1, I've got my shovel. Unfortunately, hotkeys are only available for mouse and keyboard input right now, but I'm sure that they'll do something with controllers soon. Tip number 3, you have a GPS in the game. If you guys didn't know, you can press M and bring out your GPS, right? But if you're like me, when you bring out your GPS for the first time, it's kind of stuck in the view that you see it right now, right? It's a little bit zoomed in. You can't see that much. I usually customize my controls and my keybinds for every game that I play, and I did the same thing for the Forest. And shame on me, I didn't realize until well into my playthrough, the default middle mouse click, it lets you zoom in and out. So you could actually see more or less of the island map if you want to. Amazing feature, especially if you're trying to see where else to go and everything. You're trying to really explore a lot of the island. So here we go. If you see, it zooms way in, which is really nice if you're trying to track down purple or green point of interest, right? Or whatever you're looking for, that cave entrance. But then also, if you zoom all the way out, look at it. You can pretty much see a huge chunk of the island. So you can kind of tell, oh yeah, you know what? I should go all the way down there on the beach and check that out, right? There's this little body of water here, or maybe there's a cave over here. Don't be like me and rebind your key buttons without first realizing all the buttons that are out there, okay? All right, so tip number 4 is a quick survival tip if you're running around the island. In my personal opinion, this little white plant right here that is called yarrow is probably the best plant item in the game, right? I'm sure there's an argument to be made for others, but yarrow is awesome. You can usually find it in a lot of places on the island in the forest if you're just running around. But basically, if you go into your inventory and you see right now I'm hungry and I'm thirsty, yarrow will give you some water and some food back. It is insane. It's not a ton of food. It's a little bit. It's more water, actually. If you're trying to get from one point to another on the islands and you're struggling for food, or you're just crazy like IGP and don't have an actual place to live on the island and you're just running around like a nomadic maniac, find some yarrow. It's literally everywhere. It's usually clustered. You saw we found like 3 or 4 right there. Yarrow is your best friend. Find it, utilize it well, my friends. Moving on to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is the easiest way to save and to rest in the game. So if you didn't know, you can make a little tarp shelter. All you need is a tarp and 1 stick. All you got to do is go into your inventory. Your tarps are stored up here. You take out a tarp, you find a little spot on the ground, and you just drop it. Die. Stab. All right, before we were so rudely interrupted by that fat baby red-faced cannibal mofo, right? You look at the ground. When the symbol is white, you put it down, and then you go back and you take out a stick, which, by the way, you could hotkey sticks and tarps if you really wanted to. You look at a corner of it, and then you left click. Now you've got a little shelter that you can both save and sleep at. This is really important. You can do this pretty much anywhere in the game. You could do it outside. You could do it on the top of a mountain. You can literally do this inside of bunkers that you find. You can do it in caves. You really only need one tarp and one stick, because when you're done, just jump on it. And then you get your stick back, unless you're full on sticks like I am. And then if you look down at the tarp and you hold C on your keyboard, you can actually pick your tarp back up. All right, guys, tip number 6 is actually how to change your arrow types. So if you pull out your self-made bow and arrow and you look down at the ground, you'll get a prompt that says R to switch. And if you switch, you can change between your different arrow types that you have. So if you didn't know, if you look in your inventory, there are a few different arrow types that you can get in the game. You can craft stone arrows yourself. You can 3D print arrows at the 3D printers that you find. And of course, you find carbon fiber arrows, which are the best. I went so long in the game without realizing that you can change arrows, and I think it was because whenever I pulled the bow out, I was hunting something, or I was about to get in combat, or I was in combat and I wanted to use it. There was no reason for me to look down at my feet with the bow and arrow. I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot, or worse, shoot myself in the knee. But when I finally realized this, or when I finally learned it, it was life-changing, because some of the other arrow types will do more damage, they will travel further, so it's really useful. All right, so guys, tip number 7 is about boomboxes. Yeah, we all love music. We all love to rock out. But if you come across boomboxes, you need to smash the hell out of these things whenever you find them. I know, counterintuitive. Who doesn't want a boombox and some tunes when you're on an island with a bunch of cannibals? But trust me, if you smash them, you get a nice little item that is a circuit board. They allow you to make a couple of items. One of them is tech armor, and then it also lets you make time bombs. Now, you'll see I have time bombs up here already, so I can't make any more, so it's not showing that. But time bombs are basically like homemade grenades. They're amazing weapons. They're great. That's how you get circuit boards, guys. Sometimes I have found a couple of places where you will find a circuit board or two laid around, but they are very rare. Make sure you smash every boombox you come across. All right, guys, moving on to tip number 8. You can block. So if you hold right click on your mouse, it actually does a blocking action, and this could be very useful in combat. So if you look at any of your melee weapons, they all have 3 stats on them. And the bottom one, the shield icon, the one that's kind of a golden or yellowish color, is block, right? So you can see I have the firefighter axe out currently. It has a pretty high block, but if you move to something like the tactical axe, it has a lot less block. Stun baton has a lot less block, things like that. It has saved my life in game, and it'll probably save yours. You can also, too, if you block or you double tap the block button, you do this kind of like counter push away. It does a little bit of damage if it hits right, not as much as a regular attack, but it's the same for every melee weapon, at least all the ones I've tried so far. But this is useful. You can block. It's a great way to create an opening for yourself too, to get an attack in, especially against armored enemies like these. I'm just gonna kind of bait these guys into attacking me, and you can see how it works. Come on. Who wants to be a good boy and try to hit me? You will take a little bit of bleed through damage depending on what armor you have on and how high the block stat is for the weapon, but it's not too bad, especially if you're blocking. You can see there, I barely took any damage from that. That hit right there from that guy would have did a lot more damage normally. You'll see enemies even block themselves. I'm ashamed to admit, I noticed this way too late in game. There we go. Look at that. I blocked, and then that created the opening to kill that guy. So it's definitely worth it blocking. Oh, no, I know you didn't. You could always just use my tried and true method, which is, you know, shotgun. Moving on to tip number 9. All right, guys, so one of the things you should do whenever you kill a bunch of cannibals in the game is you should make a fire and you should burn their bodies. Oh, he's dead. Oh, yeah. All right, once you've killed them, you want to grab their bodies, right? You want to have that fire built, and you want to bring them over to the fire, and you just want to drop their bodies on the fire. You want to burn them. You want to give them a nice little now. You want to give them a nice little send-off, you know, into the afterlife. That's always important. Proper burial, right? It's very hygienic. It's just a nice thing to do since you already took their life. Will you die? And as they're burning, what's going to happen is they're going to create bones, a lot of bones for you to pick up. And those are actually very valuable items. So what you can do with bones is you can take 4 of them, a piece of rope, and a piece of duct tape, and you can make bone armor. And bone armor is critical because there's only a few types of armor in the game, but you're going to encounter a lot of cannibals, and you're going to have to fight a lot of cannibals. And this is an easy way to get 10 pieces of armor equipped, give you a full armor equip. Then you'll be able to survive a lot more in combat, a lot more hits and everything. Make sure you burn all the bodies, right? Leave no survivors, leave no evidence, right? Take the bones and make bone armor. It's getting dark, so we're gonna move on to the next tip. Moving on to tip number 10. Just a heads up, this is probably the most spoilery tip in the entire video. So if you don't want a heavy spoiler for in-game stuff, make sure you just move ahead to tip 11 and 12 with no spoilers. Tip number 10 is when you get near the end game and you've picked up the golden armor and you reach the golden armor door and you come through here, you're gonna start to encounter a big new enemy. And it's basically a new version of the cave mutants that you've been fighting, but it's a lot bigger, it's a lot faster, it hits a lot harder, and you're probably going to be pretty kitted out at this point, but the most effective weapon against it is the cross. These things are actually called demons, and if you have the cross weapon, you'll be able to deal with them a lot more effectively. Now, sure, you could run through here, shotgun them all, pistol them all, spear them, bow and arrow, whatever you want to do. You're just going to have a lot easier time if you have the cross with you. So once you've opened the golden door and you start going down through here, you start getting into a lava-like area. And eventually, you can see right here, here's one, you're going to run into them. And they do this like almost scorpion sting with their legs. Right there, you see get hit. But if you just take the cross and press like you're gonna attack, it holds it out, right? It's like power of Christ compels you, and they just start burning, and then eventually you might even do it and they might not start burning. They'll just die. They just die. And the awesome thing about this weapon is it doesn't matter if there's 4 of them in front of you or 10 of them in front of you. It will set all of them on fire. It will damage all of them at one time, as long as they're kind of in the front cone area of you when you go to do this. The cross is very easy to miss though. It is in a cave. You can find it pretty early in the game, and it's just on a body. It's on an orange jumpsuit body, one of the maintenance worker guys' bodies. So make sure as you're exploring caves throughout the game that you're checking any dead bodies you come across for weapons and items, because a lot of them have items or weapons on them. Anyway, the cross makes this last section of the game way easier than if you were to try to burn all of your resources to get through and kill everything. Also, too, depending on what you do in game, you may not want to burn all your resources. I'm not going to spoil that. All right, welcome to tip number 11. So tip number 11 is the best way to traverse the island quickly. At some point in the game, you will uncover a 3D printer. There are several scattered across the island in different bunkers in different areas. And once you do, you'll be able to 3D print a bunch of stuff. One of those is this sled, which you can see here in my hand. It's located in your inventory in the top left up here. So at first you might think, hey, this might be the sled from the first game. I can pull logs. It's not. It's a sled for you to ride in. But the good news about that is if you have any sort of downhill trajectory, you can hop in your sled and man, you take off, you go fast. So it's a great way to cover a lot of area in a short amount of time. Oh yeah, I'm on fire. Woo! So I was a little cold, you know, so I needed to step through the fire. So there's a huge mountain in the middle of the map in the game, and you probably should and need to go to it and explore it. I'm very close to the top right now. I'm right here. This looked like a good place to maybe start to sled down. And so I wanted to show you guys that. So basically to sled, all you have to do is run, jump, click like you're gonna attack, and woo! Here we go! Oh my God! Ah! You can steer, but once it gets too fast, it will eventually be unable to really steer it effectively. It's a shit ton of fun. It's a great way to quickly traverse certain areas of the game. So let's say you've explored the whole mountain, you've gotten to the top, you want to get back down quickly. You don't want to waste a bunch of resources, spending a bunch of time being cold, making a bunch of fires to make it back down safely. Just hop in your sled. It costs 1,000 printer resin to make, but it's totally worth it in my opinion. And on top of that, usually most of the 3D printers you come across in the game, they already have 700 to 800 resin in them. You can also use the sled to ride in water if the water is shallow enough and going downhill. So we're gonna try that here. I don't think this water, oh, this water might be, let's see. Yeah, so you can also use the sled to travel in water if it's shallow enough, like you see right here. But if you get into too deep of a part, it will take you back out of your sled. But this is also a great way if you're really far uphill somewhere and there's a stream next to you and you want to get downhill. Great way to do it. Lots of fun. Moving on to the bonus tip, or really it's more of a glitch that exists in the game currently, or a couple of glitches. So crafting is a huge part of the game, being a survival game, and you probably want to craft a massive base. And while you do have your buddy Kelvin, hey, what's up, buddy, to gather logs for you or help you out with resource gathering, it can still be pretty time consuming, even if you get some friends in. Logs are one of the resources that it can take a lot of time to gather because you have to cut down all the trees. There are a couple of methods in the game currently that I'm aware of that allows you to duplicate logs. One isn't as effective as the other, but I'll go ahead and show you both. So basically for the first method, you're going to need to go ahead and cut down a tree. Any tree will work as long as it gives you big logs. Timber! So we've gone ahead and felled this big boy. Really, you could do this with as little or as many logs as you want. I'm gonna find a relatively kind of flat place. You know what? Let's try the beach. I actually haven't tried this on the beach before, but let's try. Oh, you know what? Right here. Perfect. So lay it down right here on this rock. All right, you're gonna place the 2 logs on the ground right there like I just did. You're gonna get sticks out of your inventory and you're gonna prop them up like this. And then once you have done that, you can take your axe or whatever your melee weapon is. Well, I already did it. I hit it. If you knock the log off the stick, you'll see what happens is that they duplicate and they glitch. You can run into it and hit to do that. You can hit it with your axe, whatever works for you. I came here with 2 logs. Now I have 4. That's nice. You don't have to do a bunch of chopping. You'll get quicker at it, but it isn't as efficient as the next method. For the other method to duplicate logs, we don't even need a single piece of wood. For the next method, what you want to do is you want to find somewhere relatively flat. You know, the beach is okay here. And you want to pull out your survival guide and you want to go to structures, and you can pick, I'm pretty sure, any structure for this, but we're gonna do the very basic house, just the house that sits on the ground, the small log cabin. We're gonna put the blueprint down right there. All right, notice I don't have any logs with me. I don't have any wood on me. I have not added anything to the blueprint. You're gonna come to one of the corners of the blueprint until you get the prompts to add logs or to trash the blueprint, and do that. You've got those prompts on your screen, and then you just want to start kind of moving around back and forth a little bit and holding C or pressing C, and eventually what's gonna happen is you're gonna start spawning logs. You're gonna get the C prompt to spawn logs. It's a little finicky. You kind of have to mess around with it. There we go. There we go. We got 1. You can see we just got a log out of nothing right there. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Now we're drowning in logs. There we go. And you can just spawn literally hundreds, if not thousands of logs in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. Free wood. Everybody, Kelvin, man, I have created wood. I have created wood, Kelvin. Yeah, and then what'll happen eventually probably is you'll get pushed too far away because all the logs that you're spawning on top of yourself, you just gotta move them. Get your stuff out of the way. There you go. Look at that. Infinite logs, baby. And you can pretty much do this from any corner in the house. You want to look up until those prompts go away, right? And then just start spawning logs. Oh, we're making it rain. Making it rain. Did you see? I spawned logs. Kelvin, I did that. I created wood from nothing. Are you not impressed? Fuck you.